The Rangers shocked the world by signing Jacob deGrom. Are they going to shock the world by signing Aaron Judge or some other huge free agent hitter that we don't see coming? We'll talk about that, the Rangers' top 10 baseball prospects with Grant Schiller of BP. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a crippling addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow my guest, Grant Schiller, at OG Show, trying to point out his lower third in there, and follow the show at Locked On Rangers. There we go. Okay, I thought I lost you for a second.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know. The internet mysteriously died and then came back to life. Joining me today is Grant Schiller, the prospect prognosticator, the genius pitching perfectionist, the man, the myth, the legend, Grant Schiller. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, I am so over the moon. The Rangers have Jacob deGrom on their team. He's going to pitch in the Rangers uniform next year. I mean, I know you are a pitching savant, and I want to get your opening thoughts on just the Rangers signing him, just who he is, and how excited this makes you.
Yeah, it's I mean, it was stunning because all the reports have been like, hey, they feel like decent about Rodon and Senga, but deGrom probably not going to happen. So I was in San Antonio at the UNT UTSA conference championship game. I think it was the second quarter. I pull up, I'm like super engaged in the game. I pull up my phone. She's like, holy crap, like we have freaking Jacob deGrom. It's crazy. To be honest, this championship game, and I can't even think about the game for like 15 minutes because Jacob deGrom is our Ranger. I mean, he's ridiculous. Like, he has the 80th of 80 fastballs, the 80th of 80 sliders, 80 control command. He's got a damn good changeup. He doesn't even have to use that much because everything else is so good. It is absurd how good he is. I'm terrified of the injury history, and the likelihood of future injuries, given that he's been touched by the elbow, the shoulder, where the arm's at in different spots in his delivery, his age, his stuff. But if he stays healthy for 2 of these seasons, it's worth it because he's that good. Like, I think everybody knows how, like, he's incredible. But just to roll through because it's so easy to forget how incredible he is, because he is something that we have hardly ever seen in the history of baseball.
I don't think we have seen it. I don't think we have seen it before him.
The last 5 seasons, his ERAs 170, 243, 238, 108, 308. His FIPs 199, 267, 226, 124, and 213. His xFIP the last 2 years, 161 and 154. He hasn't had an expected ERA above 2.73 for the last 5 seasons. Like
five seasons.
Yes. What he is insane. Insane. He started at 20. Put it in this perspective. He started in age 26 in the big leagues. And he has had horrific, like, between the last 3 years, between COVID and his injuries, he's only played half seasons, third seasons, the last 3 years. And he still has a good chance to become a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, like, it's insane. And I talked on today's show about, like, just the insaneness of, like, him not only of anyone being this good, but let alone him, a guy who didn't pitch until his last year of college. He was a shortstop. He had Tommy John surgery, came up with all the other, top Mets prospects, was not thought to be the guy. But, like, it's absolutely bonkers. And you touched on the injury history, and I feel like a lot of times it's recency bias, but I feel like your opinion would be one that I'd respect a lot more, because I mean, yeah, he had the shortened season. Everybody had that in 2020. Whatever. I'm chalking that up. Like 2021, there was the revamp year, and like I think everyone. I mean, the last 2 years we've seen it. Pitchers have not been able to pitch as much. That's just kind of how things went. And then this past year, when you thought, okay, everything's going to get back to normal, no, here you go. Sorry, lockout, month-long spring training, and then just go. Like,
Yeah.
I think that definitely factored into it. But with him, not making it to the big leagues till he's 26. I mean, he had like a bicep injury in like 2016. He pitched 140 innings or whatever that year. Last year, he had the shoulder injury, and then the year before, it was an elbow injury. That's 3 injuries, really, his entire career. And other than that, he's been very healthy. So I'm concerned. I'm curious why it feels like a lot more. It's brought up a lot more with Jacob deGrom than the other 2 big guys in Verlander, who is 40 and missed literally 2 years, has had back and Tommy John surgery, and also Rodon, who this is his first healthy season ever.
Yeah. So I think it's simultaneously very risky, just due to his stuff at his age and his arm positions. Like, far be it for me to criticize Jacob deGrom, and this is part of why he gets so much velocity on his stuff. But he can really rotate his shoulder, which is a good thing in that it adds velocity and flexibility, but it also adds injury risk. So there is a good reason to be very concerned about him being injured. Now, is it to the extent that it's made out to be, like it's a foregone conclusion he's going to be hurt, only make 15 starts a year? No. Like, he's had, before these last 2 years, he had 4 consecutive seasons of making every start, basically. So it's not like it is a foregone conclusion he's going to be done. He's not going to miss every single season. If I had to guess, there's going to be injuries in there. But it is not a given like it's being made out to be. So you just hope that he's able to have 2-3 fully healthy seasons. Maybe in one of the other couple, he is around for October, and that's fine. Like, the Rangers are taking a gamble on injury risk, like everybody's saying. But the gamble doesn't have to be 100% payoff to be worth it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what I feel as well. And what the Rangers are saying, what's coming out early, is that like they feel 100%, fully confident in the health of his elbow. And a lot of this, injury talk is being done by people who have not seen the medical, because there's not a whole lot of people who've actually seen that full medical. And Dr. Keith Meister is definitely one of the best in the business. And if the Rangers, who are actually seeing it and are spending the money on this guy, say, we feel healthy, we feel confident this guy's healthy, I feel pretty confident in it as well. Coming up, we're going to get into a little bit of who we think pairs best, a wine pairing, if you will, or a starting pitching pairing for this free agent class. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. If you're wanting to bet on, I was going to say something about a UNT. Who is UNT playing in their bowl game?
Boise State. Bet on Boise.
Okay.
Put the house on Boise.
Yeah, they just fired their coach. If you wanted to bet for my alma mater, Texas Tech, or my other alma mater, Alabama, who's playing Kansas State, I think Tech is playing Ole Miss. If you're just wanting to throw your money behind a potential upset of a top 25 or maybe not ranked team, whatever they are at this point. If you're just feeling good about the Red Raiders, head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more, because BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now, our free agent meal we've already gotten the main course. We got it first. It was the most prized of pieces of pitcher on the market. It was one Jacob deGrom. But it doesn't always pair well. Not every meal pairs well with everything else. And I think the question is, there's no question the Rangers need another starting pitcher. The question is, where do you go for another starting pitcher? Because I'm caught between two minds at this point. At first, I thought, oh well, there's no way they sign, deGrom and Rodon. And now, part of me vacillated to the other way. I was like, now they have to sign Rodon, because if you're betting this big on deGrom's healthy years, you cannot afford to waste a single year of it. But then I've kind of swayed back of Rodon has a pretty big injury history as well. And do you really want your top two guys to be this injured, especially when it seems like Rodon now is asking for a 6th year? And I don't know why 6 years as opposed to 5 just set me over the ledge, but I feel like it did.
Yeah, I think, heck, I'd give him 6 years. He's going to be 30. He's currently just continuing to get better. He's got room to do the same with deGrom, which is another good thing. Guys this good, they have room to regress and fall off in age and still be quality big league pitchers. So 6 years doesn't scare me unless the medical is ugly.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that scared me is because I was reading this MLB Trade Rumors article where they were the ones who said it. They were listing the free agent pitchers to get 6+ years in free agency, and they listed off guys like Garrett Cole. I was like, okay, that's fine. Max Scherzer, okay, that's cool. Yu Darvish, Zach Greinke, Clayton Kershaw, okay. And then you get into David Price, okay, Johnny Cueto, less okay, John Lester, Patrick Corbin, and Steven Strasburg. And that's where my heart just sank, because I just saw news about, all right, Steven Strasburg is starting to build back up and going to try and be ready for spring training. And I'd honestly forgotten about him, because he's signed a 7-year, $250-ish million deal, and has been healthy for not very much of it. But Strasburg always had some injury concerns as well. From the time he was drafted, there's a whole big to-do about shutting him down and whatever. So I'm curious which way. It seems like you're leaning towards Rodon, but if you weren't going towards Rodon, would you rather go the Kodai Senga route or trade for one of those Brewers top pitchers, or if you can get maybe a Shane Bieber? Which of those would you feel best about? Because it kind of depends on the prospect haul, I guess, maybe.
Right. Generally speaking, now, if they could get Corbin Burns, that changes things. He's worth a high price if you can get him and extend him.
Yeah.
Shane Bieber's very good, too. I mean, all of the above, they're all good options. I would prefer to stay in free agency if you can get the same or similar impact arm, and just paying money and maybe a draft pick instead of Duran or other prospects. Mm-hmm. That's just a general preference. I think almost everybody has that preference outside of maybe ownership at times. One guy I'd like to throw out that I finally have seen the Rangers actually linked with, I think I have more interest than others in Nathan Eovaldi. He
really? Okay.
Yeah, he's not the same guy he used to be, right? He used to be super blazing fastball, but didn't perform like it would seem like he should, right? But he's been really good in Boston. 2021 was obviously incredible, and he got some home run luck he's never gotten in his career. But he throws tons of strikes. The fastball isn't what it used to be, but it's still hard. The curveball is still good, but the splitty just keeps getting better and better as he gets older. So you throw strikes, you miss enough bats, you bring him to a ballpark that should be a better fit for him than Fenway from a home run prevention perspective. And I think he's not Rodon or Senga or Burns or Bieber. But if you are trying to stay under the luxury tax and you still want to play towards the upper middle end of the outfield market, you can probably fit both of those in. So I'd be happy with him. Rodon would be incredible. Senga, Burns, they'd all be incredible. I kind of, where your point is and where I kind of agree is they need to still be playing at the top of the rotation. As Bill, even with adding deGrom, do you really depend on Perez to totally repeat, or do you pencil him in as a number 4 caliber and hope he does better?
Well, same
Right.
with Gray, and I mean
Right.
he showed that great 2-month stretch, but again,
Right.
his injuries as well with the recurring blister injuries, and he also had the knee injury and the
And his
whatever.
arm is super late.
Mhm.
So yeah, I still think they need to play at the top of the rotation, because if you add another pitcher, but he slots in between Perez and Odorizzi, your rotation still is not that deep with high quality arms.
Mhm. Even if Perez repeats what he did last year, which
Yeah.
I think he'll be. I don't think he's falling off nearly as much as people are projecting, but I don't know that he's going to have sub-3 ERA, 190 plus innings next year. That'd be freaking awesome, and he's probably going to get 4 years, $20 million apiece if he does. But don't know how likely it is. But
Yeah.
speaking of guys who are probably going to get more than 4 years, $20 million apiece, I want to talk about some of the guys at the top end of this free agent market. Aaron Judge specifically, because BetOnline came out with their odds about a while ago, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. I don't know what time it is. Sometime in the offseason, they put the Rangers right in there at around number 5. I think they're tied with the Cardinals, last time I checked, for the best odds to sign Aaron Judge. And while it's not likely, I do want to entertain the possibility, because it was not likely that the Rangers were going to sign Corey Seager and Marcus Semien last year. It was not likely that they were going to be the ones to end up with deGrom heading into this offseason. But they still have some room in their payroll. Right now it's sitting at $131 million. Before arbitration, there's, I think, 6 players that I just listed off in a tweet that are arbitration eligible. And the only one that's really going to get a big bump is Nathaniel Lowe in his first year of arbitration. Other than that, not a whole lot getting. But I'm curious, it seems like he's going to get about $30 million average annual value. 9 years is what it's seeming like. So what is that math? Is that $270 million, or is it going to be more than that?
If he's getting 30 a year for 9 years, it'd be 270. 35 would be
305.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say 35, because he's probably going to get over $300 million. Is that worth it to you? Is that as enough of an upgrade that they can afford to, go in like I don't even know where they go for pitching at that point. But say it's someone who slots in a little like between the, Perez and Odorizzi. Is that a team that's good enough to compete for a playoff spot?
For a playoff spot, yes. I think if you're going to get him, we're spoiled at this point in free agency to even be like, oh, well, you never know. But if you were to do that, I think you can only do that with the willingness to go into the luxury tax and stay there for a few years.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's what it seems like the plan is.
I hope
if not to get there, then at least to bump up against it.
Yeah.
If not this year, then definitely starting like next year, I would think.
Yeah. I guess my philosophy is, until an ownership group shows that they're willing to go into it and stay there, given how most ownership groups around baseball are right now, I'm just going to work under the assumption that they're just willing to bump up against it, not to actually break it.
Okay. But while we're talking about Aaron Judge, the player, like what about him? How would that take this lineup to the next level? It seems like if by some miracle they did sign him, and I do realize it's a long shot, but I don't think it's impossible. But I think he'd slot in obviously into that top 3. And I think at that point you'd probably have, Seager lead off, Judge, then Lowe. I think that's the best top
Semien
3
out there,
you put Semien in leadoff, and then Judge, and then it split up the righties and left. Like at that point, like any way you look at it, it's probably your 4 best hitters are Semien, Seager, Lowe, and Judge. Is that like the best top 4 out? I think it's the best. Honestly, I really do.
When you add a guy who had a 207 WRC plus, 425 OBP, 62 home runs, that tends to make a pretty big impact. So I would say yes, indeed. And then when you have Joey Gallo as your fifth, it just gets even better.
Oh my God. I mean, we definitely, I've talked a lot about Joey, and I especially Joey Stan's shift. Like, I mean, both of us are the biggest pro Joey Gallo guys, and we would probably both be okay giving Aaron Judge money to Joey Gallo, against, probably baseball's better judgment. But I still think that, and the concern with Judge is that this was his 1 year. Like, he has done it before. His rookie year, he played 155 games, 52 home runs. I mean, this year he was playing 157 games, and most of those were in center field. This, with the Rangers, he'd have a lot more DH days. He'd have a lot more deep of a lineup than I thought the Yankees had, which is kind of nuts to say, given where these two teams were before this season. But, like, I feel like if you're going to go the only dingers route, then I feel like that would be a pretty good way to go if you're going to go spend money.
Yeah. Judge might be a good option to go if you want dingers.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it.
Definitely. Is there anybody else in kind of the outside of Brandon Nimmo and like those shortstops? I know Trey Turner signed an 11-year, $300 million deal with Philadelphia. Is there anybody in that Xander Bogaerts or Carlos Correa that, like, maybe if the Rangers miss out on like Rodon, that they might be tempted to just go throw some stupid money and kind of switch around the infield positions?
I mean, theoretically, sure. Like, potentially a Bogarts if you're going to commit to keeping Seager at short, and maybe you can move him to third. But it would require moving Young to first, Lowe to DH. It does not seem like that's where they want to put their money.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, I mean, there's good players, great hitters out there. I'm down for it, but I don't think it's the most efficient use of resources. And I imagine that they have a limited amount left, even if there's still enough for maybe one premier free agent and one mid-tier free agent.
Let me rephrase it this way. Are either of those, I guess, three guys that are there, if you do want to go the Dansby Swanson route, of the three shortstops, is there any of them that like just jumps off the page like, wow, I really, really like this guy and that would be awesome? Or it's just like, yeah, they're pretty good and that would be a big upgrade, but I'm not, it doesn't really move the needle for me.
No, I mean, they all move the needle. Well, in particularly,
as I should say, as much as like
Xander and Correa.
Yeah.
But as much as a top arm, no, just given the fit. Because, well, I personally would love to have Young be at first and Lowe at DH, just for defensive purposes. I'm also personally cool with rolling with Duran at third base and finding a really good left fielder if you want another bat. Or, heck, even moving Adolis and backfilling that with another really good bat in the right, and then still getting a mid-tier guy in left. So, am I going to turn down Xander Bogaerts if you get him on a good deal? Hell no. He's incredible. And he's worth 5 to 6 wins a year. But you'd have to get very creative with how you do it and how you invest the rest of your money.
I think that definitely makes sense, and I kind of feel the same way. It's like pitching. Pitching was like 1 through 10 of concerns this offseason. Maybe grab a bat in left field. Bring my large adult son, Joseph Nicholas Gallo, home. Anyway, we've talked a lot.
What do you think?
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
what do you think
go
of
ahead.
Haniger?
I like him. I think if they're gonna go, my whole thing is with left field, and we'll kind of transition this into the prospect talk. But my feeling is that, center field, I feel like in the short term is locked down with Leote. I think he'll be fine. I think eventually he'll be replaced by Evan Carter. But left field, I do think you want more of a stopgap. I want somebody on. That's why I really like these three guys that I think are of the same kind of category of the Gallo, Bellinger, and AJ Pollock. I kind of lumped in there as well. It's kind of a 1-year bounce back deal because I really like the guys who they have coming up to potentially play left field. I think Haniger would be a great fit. I think he would be a guy who provides kind of a similar offense to Adolis. You can stick him in left field and be fine. Maybe some DH whenever Garver's not there. But I do like the look long term of the Rangers position player prospects in the outfield. Speaking of those guys, Baseball Prospectus, the website that you write words for, they came out with their top 10 Rangers prospects, and lo and behold, number 1 is an outfielder in Evan Carter over Josh Young, which I think might surprise some people. Can you tell me what went into your thinking there? Because I'm about to come up. Well, I guess it'll probably be January. I have plenty to talk about till then. But what factored into that decision to put Evan Carter over Josh Young?
Yeah, so it's mostly the supplemental value beyond the bat. So I think where the Rangers have a lot of prospects and why they have a lot of really good prospects and a lot of depth, but not a ton of like high impact guys, is there's a lot of bats who aren't going to provide much value defensively, or need to hit to be able to stay at their position or overcome poor defensive metrics. And there's a lot of good gloves who aren't bad hitters, but aren't going to provide a ton of value with the bat. So Young kind of falls into that first category where he's a good hitter. He's not bad defensively, but he's not going to really provide positive defensive value.
I like what Carter, you said. He's fine. He's
right.
Fine.
Yes, exactly. Carter is a similarly, in a different way, good hitter, who also should be able to be an above-average defender up the middle, and provide base running value. So when you add it all together, maybe Young is the better fantasy baseball player, but in terms of major league impact, Carter came out number 1 almost across the board for us.
Wow, that is pretty great, because I was flirting with that the mid-season, but I'm like, no, I think partly just because at that point Carter hadn't made Double-A just yet, and he hadn't been fully healthy for a season. But then again, health concerns, 2 random one-off injuries with Young. I was like, okay. And I've kind of been rethinking of like, all right, how much value do you put on like guys who are there versus not there? Anyway, all that to say, the guy who you have at 7 is another guy that I want to talk about, is Aaron Zavala, who yes. I really wanted to put higher in my mid-season top 10, but he had a great season. I know you and I both liked him a lot more. You saw him last year, didn't love the profile as much, but this year, I feel like he really jumped way up.
Yeah, he did. And I think actually for BP, he was about static in the rankings. But I wasn't there last year.
It says he was 9 last year.
9, okay.
Which was they were by far higher on him last year than anyone else was.
Yeah, I would have thought to have him not in the top 10 if I was there, but they were more right than I was. He athletically he bounced back. He looked like a different guy than he did last fall, but he's just got such a good eye, such good plate vision, pitch recognition, great swing decisions. And the thing, and what I put in there is the thing that separates him from 80 approach guys who don't make it is he's an 80 approach guy who, when he sees a mistake in the zone or when somebody tries to groove him a pitch, he's capable and will punish it. So you can have great swing decisions all you want, but if pitchers know that they can throw 3 fastballs by you in the zone, they're just going to throw 3 fastballs by you in the zone. When you have that pitch recognition and plate discipline, 80 approach, and you can also punish guys, hit 15 home runs a year, sting a lot of singles and doubles into the alleys, that's when you can really hit. And that's when that really plays at the top level.
Yeah, that is definitely a guy who I liked a lot. I like Dustin Harris. I think we were both a little lower on him than at the end of the season than I thought I would be. I thought I'd be a little more impressed with him. But not to say he had a bad season, but I think Zavala was just up there a little bit more. There is a lot to talk about with these pitchers. I mean, we've talked about it a lot in the last month or so about the setbacks with these pitchers. I like the Brock Porter pick at 6. No idea what to make of him just yet, but I like everything that I've read, which is not a whole lot, but very exciting. Rocker still being in the top 10 after a little bit of, shaky, definitely shaky Arizona Fall League debut is a nice sign that, like, all right, it was a little worrisome, but not like full on. Let's just tank and panic, throw that guy in the bullpen, hope he doesn't fall off a cliff. But are there any other guys in this top 20? I know we've talked a little bit about some of the younger guys. But I think the only other ones that stand out are, you look at the bottom of this top 20 and Emiliano Teodo and Jonathan Ornelas being on there just really, really makes my heart happy.
Yeah, Ornelas was a guy I was not expecting to jump the way he did this year. I honestly, in spring training and coming into the year, he was somebody I like out of the draft, but I had kind of gotten out on. But his timing and recognition at the plate took leaps this year, and he's such a good defender. Like, the team really likes him at every position. He's at least above average to plus at second, short, third. Probably can be in the outfield as well. Like, and he's a team leader type. That is, even if he's, let's see, an 80 OPS plus hitter a year, right? That might be on a little bit on the low end, actually, but let's say he is, right? You provide good defense everywhere, and you're a good clubhouse guy, you're still valuable. So, like, with why Carter's above Young, Ornelas is a fine bat, but he provides so much supplemental value. And that's kind of the way, I think, as I was talking about the Ranger system, having a lot of guys who are good bats without much other value, or supplemental value guys without a ton of offensive value. That's the way that I've kind of started to look at hitting prospects more, is what do you provide outside of hitting? And whatever that is sets the bar for how much you need to hit to make it or to get to this certain role. And he is a fine hitter, but he doesn't have to hit that much to make it as a utility guy.
Which is interesting because the Rangers feels like a lot of utility guys, so they'll have some decisions to make. But this was always enjoyable. Into our finale, the best part of all of these episodes. If you're new and you haven't listened to or watched a Grant and Bryce podcast before, we end our shows all the same way, picking a random Ranger. Only had to be on the Rangers roster, big league roster, for a day, just any point in time, and we just pick our favorite random ones. I have one who is a Hall of Famer. He is a right-handed pitcher, listed at 6'5", born in Chatham, Canada. Came to Texas in where'd we go? 1974. Stayed there for 2 seasons, went to Boston for 2 more, came back to Texas for a few more seasons, and ended his career with the Cubs at the age of 40. So 6 seasons in Texas, the 3.5 ERA, 1,400 innings. Yeah, and 895 strikeouts. Finished second in Cy Young voting, 5th in MVP voting in 1974, his first season in Texas, and had another top 10 Cy Young finish in 1978. Can you guess who this right-handed pitcher is?
I mean, obviously this is before my time, but I would think this is Fergie Jenkins.
It is Fergie Jenkins.
Okay. I was going to be disappointed if I got that wrong.
Just been a lot of thinking about him, doing like a ranking of like who are the best like Rangers pitchers, and like he just kept coming to mind, and all these people trying to say, oh, well, you know, Jacob deGrom isn't the best pitcher. No disrespect to Fergie Jenkins. Love the guy. But I think Jacob deGrom, his stuff is just a smidge better than old Fergie.
Yeah, deGrom has... How many pitchers in baseball history have better stuff than him? And let's throw out the compared to their eras, because that brings in a lot more guys. Like Bob Feller, ridiculous compared to his era. Bob Gibson, ridiculous compared to his era.
Yeah, those pure, 2 are the first ones.
But like pure stuff, just like ever, any era.
Randy Johnson?
Yeah, maybe.
Is up there.
Yeah.
Nolan?
Nolan,
the command of it isn't anywhere near it.
Nolan in his era had stuff of probably similar quality, but
just
not today.
I don't know what Pedro's velocity was. I know his command was more of.
And the changeup was crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are the kind of names that deGrom, just stuff wise, if he were to stay healthy, he's up there with.
Verlander, a little bit is like, you know, a poor man's Jacob deGrom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, literally, he is a poor man's Jacob deGrom because Steve Cohen was too poor to afford Jacob deGrom, so he went and got Justin
That's
Verlander.
right. That's right. Literally. Yes.
All right, who is your random Ranger? Hit me with it.
Okay. So my random Ranger is a guy who threw 586 big league innings and compiled 0.7 WAR.
Okay. Ooh,
He
definition of mid.
Right. Yes. Literally. Almost exactly replacement level. So he's probably, at least for his Rangers time, best known as a quirky guy with a very old school delivery. Right-handed pitcher. He's on the team in 2015. Threw 19 in the third innings. 19 strikeouts against 7 walks, a 3.72 ERA. He was actually pretty decent on a playoff team for the Rangers. He threw with New York, Pittsburgh, San Diego, Washington, Texas, and Cincinnati. Big righty, over-the-top motion, wind-up, very old school, kind of fun to watch. Who is this random Ranger?
Is this Ross Ohlendorf?
It is Ross Ohlendorf, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it is.
I was about to go Ross Detweiler, then I'm like, wait a minute, no, you said they were good. Okay.
Yes, and fun to watch, not wanted to make me tear out my eyes. Yes.
Oh gosh,
The good Ross.
We talked about the entire scale of Rangers pitching, from Jacob deGrom to Ross Detweiler. Man, the Rangers have really seen it all.
Okay, now could you rank for me the 3 Rosses?
Robbie Ross, Ross Ohlendorf, Ross Detweiler.
Okay, I would be in agreement with that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty fair ranking.
And
Shouts to Robbie Ross. Hope he's doing
Yes.
well wherever he is.
I'm impressed that you were able just to pull Robbie Ross as soon as I said the 3 Rosses.
Well, yeah, of course. Those were the big 3.
Right, exactly, yes.
The big 3
That's,
of
yeah.
Rangers Rosses. Ross
Yes.
Geller from Friends, bought below Ross Detweiler, in my opinion. Absolute scrub. Definitely couldn't even throw 85. No way.
No shot.
But Grant, thank you for joining me. Where can the fine folks listening to Locked On Rangers find you and all of your work?
Baseball Prospectus.
.gov.com?
You can just try rolling through them. I would say .com is probably your best bet.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to try .edu next. We'll see what we find out there. But thank you so much for joining me. Great work, as always, with BP, and always fun to talk hypothetical Joey Gallo, Aaron Judge, whatever random Rangers free agent. Maybe the Rangers will have signed somebody in the next, hour or so that I'm trying to schedule this for tomorrow. But always happy to have you on the show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. Go check out Grant's work. Go subscribe to BP. Subscribe to the show. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.